In this video, I'm going to be talking about self-sabotage and how we set ourselves up from the moment we wake up till the moment we go to sleep. Are you ready to do it? Let's get it. I self-sabotaged myself more times than I didn't during my drinking history and in my life overall. Perhaps you're doing the same thing, and if you are, this video is for you. But what is self-sabotage? Self-sabotage is the deliberate destruction of what is going good in our lives because we either have fear, our ego hurts, or our self-esteem is so low that we don't recognize that something is good for us. Therefore, before we fail at it, we just shut it down before it even gets going. Sound familiar? Let's talk about it. Self-doubt will set up self-sabotage every single time without fail. And how do I mean that? In my past relationships, I sabotage those things every single time, including the marriage that I have. What I mean by that is, every time the relationship was going good, I felt so bad about myself and that I couldn't be quality and deliver happiness to another person that I just shut that relationship down before it was even something to know, to be able to weigh if it was good or bad. And a lot of you do the same thing. And that's because for me, this alcoholic, and it could be for you, I don't know your case, we sabotage what is good for us because we don't believe that we deserve it. And that is something that a lot of addicts and a lot of addictive personality types, that's what we do. If it is good for us, we feel that we're not good enough, and therefore we just excuse it straight up out of our lives. Think about it. In your jobs, your relationships, and for some, even in your recovery. When we feel that our life is on cloud nine and that we just don't deserve it quite yet, it is very easy for us to set something up to go wrong. Because we're waiting for the bottom to come out. That's what we've been doing our whole drinking and using careers. For the most part, and if that sounds like you, put your comment below so somebody can get some of that. So we talked a little bit about why we self-sabotage ourselves. Now let's talk about some of the ingredients. We've listed up doubt, right? Doubt is one of the largest contributors, and doubt will set you up for failure and self-sabotage every single time. But what about fear? What about low self-esteem? What about the fact that you just don't think you're enough? We all think these things, but for an addict or an alcoholic like me, we can take it to extremes. My self-esteem was so low when I was growing up that I didn't believe that I deserved anything that was in it that would make me happy. So I destroyed those relationships and I destroyed opportunities. I remember this one time in band camp, I was building decks, and that was one of the most awesome jobs. And if you're from a different nation or something like that, I was building patios and terraces. The job was going so well and I was getting paid very good. And my alcoholism hadn't even started taking off at this point. This was just a normal job that I had. To lead up to what I'm about to tell you, in my whole life, I never had things that were fulfilling, and I never had opportunities put before me that I could actually take advantage of, and I never had someone treat me with respect and dignity. I don't know. Sounds bleak, but that's what it was. So without notice and without courtesy or anything like that, I just quit the job altogether and left the dude hanging to finish a contract by himself because I just thought I didn't deserve that job. Awkward that feeling is because I could have thrived at it. And I did that with a lot of things to where I started it, I was good at it, I felt like I didn't deserve it, so I just flat out quit. And that goes with sports, that goes with classes and things like that. And I was good at all of them, but I quit them because I didn't feel like I deserved them. That might be where you're at, and that might sound like something you've done. And if it is, once again, please drop your comments below because someone's going to get some of that. Now, unhelpful thinking is one of those things that can drive us to set ourselves up And we already know the term is self-sabotage. So from this point on, I might use different ones like set ourselves up. We, alcoholics and addicts in general, and people with addictive personalities tend to have an overactive mind. And when our thoughts get to racing, we have a lot, well, probably, I would say educatedly on my behalf, 90% BS running through there. And about 10% is something helpful and that I can use. You may have done the same thing and you may be experiencing the same thought patterns, right? But if 90% of it is BS and 10% of it has value, how do we know what to listen to in our minds? It is very hard for us to decipher what is real and what is not. Now, I came up with a tool, and you may have seen that in my video that is about self-care, and there's an exercise in there to do on paper. That exercise relates to your emotions versus your thoughts. Do your emotions match the thoughts that you have? If you have a thought about getting ready to lose a job, do you feel angry? Do you feel sad? Do you feel lost? Do you feel grief? Or do you feel excited and happy? Do these thoughts match the emotions and vice versa? If they don't, 9 times out of 10, what you're thinking is BS. So you might want to bounce that off of somebody. And I'm not a doctor or a counselor or anything. So if that sounds far off for you, drop a comment below and let me know what you think about it. But unhelpful thoughts will definitely destroy us. And in that same exercise, I put down prioritizing. Now you come up with a list of things that you want to do or you plan to do, and you prioritize those things based off of the thoughts that you have right now. So if I said, tell me what you're thinking, go, and the first 3 things that pop into your head, now you have to match the emotions to the thought, and then you have to prioritize the action that you're actually going to take. Do I have notes? Absolutely, because I tend to ramble a lot, and that's why this video is going on. If you're enjoying that, give me a like so this video stays in circulation. And if you're not, just tell me why. So now that we know all that, how do we overcome self-sabotaging? How in the future, when we feel that we're about to set ourselves up, quit a job, end a relationship, take a drink, use whatever your situation is when you set yourself up, how do we overcome it? And how do we make a better decision than to just stop? Well, I'm going to tell you how. And you may agree with this and you may not. That's where those comments come in as usual, because someone's going to get something from it. You ready? Let's go. Set short-term goals. As an active alcoholic, I set goals that were so grandiose and so far-fetched that it was impossible for me to reach them. So I set myself up every single time for failure when I was drinking, because I had no intentions of doing those things. Did I mean for those to happen? Of course I did. But am I really going to be able to do it when I'm drunk all the time? Probably not. So when I couldn't attain those goals, I just flat out quit what it was that I was doing, and I never reapproached the subject matter ever again in my life. So set short-term, manageable goals. That is key. Manageable goals. Recognize your negative thought patterns. When our minds start to race, like I said, 90% of it is BS. So how do you recognize the 90%? Using the exercise that I cited already, and the link is in the description below, or you can watch that video in the card above. See what I did there? Also, develop ways to match your emotions with your thoughts. You don't have to do the written exercise. You already know. It's just a matter of listening to the right things. If you have an overactive mind and you overthink a lot, you have to slow it down. You have to learn to slow your thoughts down and speak a little slower and say things out loud. And if you need to, put them on paper. So that way you can decipher what is helpful and what is not. Does that make sense? If so, you know what to do.